And the threats to our nations, they don't sleep. They're watching our every move. Iran, Russia, China, North Korea, ISIS, Al-Qaeda. They may be watching this right now. Our military should not be mistaken for a cable news gabfest show. We don't care what you look like. We don't care who you voted for, who you worship, what you worship, who you love. It doesn't matter if your dad left you millions when he died or if you knew who your father was. We have been honed into a machine of lethal moving parts that you would be wise to avoid if you know what's good for you. We will not be intimidated. We will not back down. We've seen war. We don't want war. But if you want war with the United States of America, there's one thing I can promise you, so help me God. Someone else will raise your sons and daughters.
I want to make it clear that the views expressed by our hosts are not considered the official stance of MBR Views. Remember, this is all about having fun and enjoying the ride.
So welcome to my house. Welcome to my house. 'Cause these are my people.
Hey y'all, welcome back to the Big Grizz Show. Today, we will be having a guest here in roughly 10 minutes. Is Southern Vet Sweets. This is my co-host Red. We're gonna interview him on what he actually does in his time in the military and what he does after the fact. And obviously, his name's Southern Vet Sweets, so you guys can kind of come up with an idea on what he does. But there's some good stuff coming and some good things that he's built that he donated to the Hope for 22 a Day cause that will be raffled off. I've seen it. It's amazing, and you guys can't wait till you see the video of what he's done. So, Red, obviously you're in the military. What'd you do?
Hey, well, I was active duty from 1986 to 2006, and I was an air traffic controller. So,
In what branch?
I was in the Air Force, U.S. Air Force, and
Okay.
you want me to tell you some more?
Oh yeah. I mean,
well,
this is
I
really
was
good.
in there for 20 years. Of course, you can see down there the show called me Red, and that came from my TI. The very first night I was there, he was looking for a comedian, and I didn't know that I was the comedian that he was looking for. Of course, we all just stood there, and eventually, he was tapping back and forth, yelling this stuff, welcoming me and the rest of the troop to Lackland basic military training. And finally he said, "Whose last name is this?" And I was like, "Sir, yes, sir, that's me," and anyway, he said, "You're Red Skelton. You're Red Skelton," so I became Red, and then it followed me on to tech school and to my first duty station down at Eglin, and it's pretty much stuck ever since as far as any military, relationships or affiliations I have.
Oh, nice. So, oh man, excuse me. What brought you to MBR? What got you into wanting to host and co-host podcasts?
Well, I've had some interest in it. I was as a youngster, my dad talked a lot on the CB radio, and I got into the CB radio. And then later, when I was in the military, when I was stationed overseas, I got into amateur radio, so I became a ham operator. And anyway, I loved sharing stuff and hearing what other people had to share. I've always, always want to be that with a servant's heart. I want to help other people, when what I can do. So I've tried to put things on Facebook 5, 6, 7, 8, even 10, 12 years ago, that was kind of geared toward helping people. It might have been selling a little bit also, but I ran across this through the VA where they were looking for people that were interested in podcasting. Well, I'd already started a YouTube channel, and it was for a business that I'm involved in now. And I hadn't really, I've gotten some recordings, but never really put anything into it. But through the VA, I saw this military broadcast radio, and I'm like, man, check this out. So I read up a little bit about it, then found out a little bit what they were doing. I inquired about it. Got to speak with the H train and find out exactly what they're doing. He provided me an opportunity. And man, listen, it's been a blessing. I've been in it, a little over a month now, and feels like I'm home. Truthfully, feels like I'm home. And yeah, and here we are, helping out with several different shows, providing veterans with maybe some entertainment on some talk shows on the other, and it couldn't be better. I've been blessed with it. Trust me, I've been blessed with it. And this afternoon, just being fortunate enough to jump in on here with you, man, I was doing nothing. I was like, man, what can I do? I was kind of bored. I'm bacheloring it this week. My wife's off on a cruise, so I was home alone. And then all of a sudden, I see you're needing somebody to jump on the show with you a few minutes, and like, of course, I raised my hand. I always did. I volunteered for this, volunteered for that. I guess it's in our nature. Some of us might learn at certain times in our career, don't raise your hand, don't ask questions,
Yeah, but, you're born not wanting to share or help other people, and then you get into a brotherhood like we have, and you want to help as many people as you possibly can.
My goodness, it has been great.
On that note, Southern Vet Suites is in studio, and let's bring him up and have a good conversation with him on about what he does. And if you want to stay in, you're more than welcome to stay in here and host this with me.
All right, great. I'll stay.
So,
all right.
Hey, Southern.
Can you hear me?
Oh yeah, I can. Oh yeah, we can hear you. I'm trying to find
sure.
the link to put, or the layout. There it is. I was blind for a second. I mean, I'm.
Well, there was two of you. Oh, where'd the third guy go? He was like a little ninja. Oh.
So Southern, why he's figuring out the layout. How long were you? Let me rephrase this. When did you enlist?
When did I enlist? That would have been June of 2002. Right after high school. I graduated May of 2002, and then I left right after.
Oh, okay. So yeah, you're just a little bit younger than me. I enlisted in 99 in the DP, and actually went to basic in 2000.
Yep. So where'd you do basic at?
I was the last all male infantry unit to go through Fort Knox.
Okay, I was over at Fort Sill.
The all tank training. I don't know what it is now. But it was kind of cool being the last all male infantry unit that was at Fort Knox. Now it's all tankers.
Yeah, I was at Fort Sill, and I know when I was still there it was all male, but I'm not sure if it still is or not.
I have no idea. So what brought you to enlist?
I ain't gonna lie. A lot of it was I just wanted to get out of the damn house. I was a young guy out of high school, getting tired of my parents telling me what to do, and I'm just like, it's time to go. But I do remember my recruiter called me because apparently do you remember I think it was one of the Schumacher guys that raced the Army drag race car.
Okay.
And they had brought the car to our high school. Of course, they had all the forms you could fill out, put your name on it. And I remember I filled one out, and apparently that's where he got my information.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I believe his name's Kevin Shoemaker.
Yeah, I can remember because he had a relative that raced in Formula One, and I always got the two mixed up. I can't remember which one was which. There was a Michael and a Ken or a Kevin. Michael was the one that raced in F1.
I think it's Kevin. That just name sounds really, really familiar to me.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. You know, I know his brother. I don't know if it's a brother, cousin, or whoever raced Formula One. He raced the Marlboro car for years.
Oh, yeah. So what branch did you enlist in?
Army.
Okay, so what was your MOS?
13 Bravo. Field artillery.
Field artillery. Okay, I was 11 Bravo. So did you enjoy doing that? Obviously, you I believe you did 20 years, right?
No.
Okay, so how long?
I only did about 2.5, and then that's when I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, and I got med boarded.
Oh,
I had no choice in the matter.
Yeah, I remember you told me.
I mean, yeah, I remember I'm an E3 at the time, only like 2 years in. I'm not like some seasoned, sergeant major, higher NCO or whatever that they can justify keeping. I'm just a disposable 2-year enlisted right now. That's like, okay, well, it makes more sense just for us to put you out than keep you in.
So you never deployed, or did you deploy once?
No, technically not. I don't know why I'm saying technically. My stuff did get sent down range, and literally like 3 days. Like I remember we were taking all the equipment to the dock over there in Germany when they were flying all the equipment down there, and all my stuff had already sent. And literally 2 days before we shipped out, I started throwing up. I had massive weight loss in the last couple of weeks, and then when they sent me to Landstuhl, Germany, where the hospital was, my sugar was like 780, and I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes.
Ooh, man, that sucks. I'm sorry to hear that.
None of that existed before then. I was literally contracted and diagnosed, everything in the military.
So we're not going to say what you do as a fact right now, but you had diabetes and you do what you do right now?
Yep.
All right.
I have diabetes and I do what I do.
That's interesting. We'll get to that, you guys, because there's some really cool stuff that we're going to talk about with what he does. So how do let's see, how do you combat your time after the military, since you weren't actually deployed in essence and deal with a lot of the stuff, but in general, no matter what, you're in the military, you're away from your family. How did you get out and cope with everyday life being a civilian?
There was definitely a trial period, I like to call it, where everything was just like, one day is really great. One day is like, I don't want to get out of bed. The third day, I just want to slap the piss out of everybody, and it was just, of course, I went through the whole phase where I literally left home. I moved to Ohio for like a while after I got out, because I was right back in the place I wanted to get out of, which was home. And then when I came back, I was working at a place called the Masquerade in Atlanta, and I met a buddy there, and we went to go see a show up in South Carolina for a band called As I Lay Dying. I listened to like deathcore metal, hard metal, and he's like, "Let me tell you about this girl I know." Well, about 17 years later, we're still married. So,
congratulations!
That was a huge turning point. Finding somebody that would put up with all my bullshit. Can I cuss on here?
Just don't say the F word.
Okay. I'm glad you said that, because I like to drop that one a lot. But yeah, I just found somebody who would put up with all my shit.
And that's kind of what all of us need.
Yeah, that was the first turning point.
Yeah, you got to have that person that is understanding of what you got going on with your past as well.
Right.
Not just you fighting it and dealing with it. They got to be on the same page. My wife's amazing. She learns more from me. She's in here right now. She actually learns more from me from these than I'll ever tell her, but she's starting to come up with, why I have to have a shopping cart if we go shopping, why I have to have my back to the wall if we're in a large crowd of people. She's starting to understand that.
Yeah, my wife didn't really understand all that at first, especially she's a city girl. I'm a country boy. But, she was definitely learning that and willing to learn how to understand, But I think a big part of how we work is, she said it best, we let each other love each other the way we want to.
That's
we
right.
just accept that. Like, my love language is acts of giving.
Yeah, I think that's me too. Just it's giving, because I enjoy seeing people's reactions. Like, I'm a big time cook. I love to cook. So I love having people over here to cook, just to see and hear, oh, the food's good, this and that. I love that part of it, but I'm not a cuddler. Like, I don't, I'm not
my wife
big
is,
into it.
I am not.
Yeah. And it's finding that mutual ground, which that's kind of hard, but mine's more like being in the same room, like with the kids and my wife, just sitting and watching a movie. Cool. That's like good time for me. That's not
family.
That's not having people climb on me. Now, my dogs are different. They don't leave me alone. I mean, the only reason they're not out here right at my feet is because they're locked in the bedroom right now.
Oh, mine are literally right at my feet. Even though what we had talked about before, I think she's okay right now. Okay. They are literally both at my feet right now. I got 100 and 75 pounds of dog at my feet right now.
Woo.
Yeah, no, mine are all hid. So hey, we're gonna take a quick break. We're gonna come back, and Red, let's dive into a little bit of your experience when we get back in the military, being deployed, stuff like that, and then we'll get into the heart and of what I want to talk about with Southern vets.
All right.
So let's go to a break, and we'll come back and we'll talk about that.
Hey guys, Noelle here. In honor of our soldiers, our military personnel that are currently deployed right now, I wanted to take the time to personally thank you guys from the bottom of my heart for all that you guys do, even the veterans. I also wanted you guys to see our team and what they had written to you guys personally. I wish you all nothing but love and respect.
The fact that our patriotism in America is dwindling, I really wanted to start the American AF movement. Freedom is fragile, very fragile. It takes a certain level of intestinal fortitude to stand up and say and do the right thing to preserve the freedoms that so many have paid a large price for. About being in the military, and that recruiter said, it's not Biden's army, it's your army, it's his army, it's his army, it's all of our army.
American tactical. American as fuck.
So, Red, how long were you enlisted?
I was in the Air Force for 20 years and a day.
Oh, in a day? Got to get that day in there, huh?
It just sounds cooler.
It's just the way it fell, the way it fell, you know what I mean?
20 years plus a day.
It's kind of like when you're a kid. I am 9.5 years old.
Exactly.
Oh, you count the months and everything, and then you get to the age I am now. I think I'm going to be like 43 this year.
It's like, nope, I'm just 40.
I'm trying to forget.
One in like a month. Nope, I'm 40.
So you had said earlier, Red, that you were an air traffic controller in the military.
Right.
What does that consist of in the military versus civilian air traffic control?
Well, obviously, we're controlling military aircraft the majority of the time. We still have the same rules, okay, but we're doing a lot of different things. Okay, we're at different military bases. We move around from base to base, and every time you move from one base to another, it's not like let's say if you got a job, with transportation, you're changing oils or working on a vehicle. The vehicles remain the same. With what we did in air traffic control, like I was at Eglin Air Force Base for the first 6 years. So I probably learned air traffic control in one of the busiest, most complex airspace and in the world. And it's just, there's a lot of things that go on at Eglin, and you got a populated area also with Fort Walton Beach, Destin, along the beach line, Herbert Airfield's Air Force bases there, Duke Airfields just north of Eglin. And we had, 3 or 4 different small civilian type airports around there also. So, so we did a lot of military. We mixed in the civilian aircraft with it, kept them out of all the airspace that might have been hot, with certain missions going, whether it might be a Hellfire mission, could be a ground mission that's going on, and all these different altitudes are affected. And then, of course, all the fighters and tankers that would come down there and get out over the water, our airspace was really huge. When I moved to the Azores, I did a remote assignment in the Azores. That's the archipelago of islands off the Portugal coast, probably about 400 or 500 miles. And I was at Lodges Field. Well, when I went in there, yes, I knew the rules, of air traffic control, but I had a completely different airspace, different field elevation, different terrain. We had little mountains around us. So a lot of things changed, not to mention I wasn't working with only Americans. We worked right along with the Portuguese controllers from the Portugal, their military. And being in Portugal, we weren't in the United States anymore. The FAA rules, which is, federal aviation, have a rule book 7110.65, but going over to the islands of Portugal, we're using also ICAO, which is International Civil Aviation, order, and so they differ. You might be able to get about a little by with a little bit here, but you got to add this into it. Us being American controllers, we did do a lot of FAA rules, in the airspace surrounding it. But say you were the tower, you did ICAO only. But we always had to have one of each service, at least one of each service on crew at all times.
So in your 20 years in a day, were you
Yeah.
ever deployed?
I did get deployed to the desert. I got to spend.
Which one?
It was in the mid '90s.
Desert Storm.
Yeah, well, Operation Desert Shield, I guess it was called.
Okay.
We were there, and I was in the tent city there in Saudi Arabia, Al's Garage, Al-Card, whatever you want to call that, and spent about 6 months and several days in there. And anyway, it was a great experience. We did live in tents. It wasn't just simple, like being back home. You're away from your families and friends and normal folks you're around. Obviously, we had plenty of brothers and sisters in arms over there with us, and it was, and of course, all the different services we had. There was a Marine section, there's an Army section, Air Force section. They even had a Navy group in the middle of the desert.
Oh no, they did
care of their mission. So
my second deployment, we had what was called Duke systems on our home, and all vehicles. It was basically I don't know if you guys know what it is. It's basically like a EMP that we carried around on our vehicles. Right. So it shut all electronic signals down in a certain radius around our vehicle. And that was Navy, and we always had to have a Navy guy that ran that with us.
Sure. Okay, there you go.
So, I mean, there is some ground forces in the Navy.
Right. Oh, yeah.
There are few in between. But as an air traffic controller, being in the desert or across the pond, how is the job different? Because it's got to be different from being over there versus being stateside.
Well, it did. It changed a lot over there. Just, with your force protection measures and stuff like, regardless, you knew every aircraft. You knew every aircraft that was flying in the vicinity, and you had both the Americans and the Saudi Air Force and the Saudi military that was there, which we worked with, similar to the way it was in Lajesfield, Portugal. But I tell you what, you get in a position like that, I don't know, I'd say you have everyone's attention near about 100% of the time. It's we're all looking out for each other. We had where we worked from was off the main part of the base, and it was a lot of different things, going through different security checkpoints. It might go through 2 or 3 security checkpoints, just getting from your tent, getting out to the tower, where we worked. And RAPCON, we had a mobile RAPCON out there also along with a mobile tower. And it was pretty wild because you also have aircraft from different militaries, You have the friendly forces were all flying there together. One country might be providing some aircraft on a mission for a little while that are replacing some of the other countries that were involved. Of course, the American presence was the greatest. There's no doubt about that. I say the greatest. It was the largest and the greatest. Okay. So we're there. And anyway, it's a lot different. Just even with those force protection procedures, the way the aircraft fly, the times they'll fly, the times they won't fly, and a lot of coordination going on.
So when it comes to like Southern Vets, he was 13 Bravo, obviously field artillery. Being air traffic control, if air support is called in or a field artillery is called in, does that go through air traffic control, or is that separate?
It all depends the situation that you're in. I mean, I guess let's say the area control, AOC, or whatever that you might be in. Obviously, in Afghanistan and Iraq, it was a lot different than what we were experiencing in Saudi Arabia at that time. and I'm speaking in the last 16, 17, actually, I guess 23 years now, basically since 9/11, a lot of things have changed in the aviation ground. I mean, lots of things have changed, whether it's home or abroad. But yeah, the military Air Force uses special forces with air combat controllers, and they're a little bit separate from what we do. You have the pararescue guys that have a little different mission when you're in more hostile fire area, and yeah, they're building airfields along with the those guys. You know, that I can't remember the ops guys and stuff like that. Uh, it's it's a lot going on, okay? And like I said, you might be having to transition from one airfield to another airfield. I know a lot of people that I worked with in my later years. They were going back and forth from one base to the other, and spend time here, go there, and depending on where the main mission was happening. So
So, Southern Vets, did you know that when you guys call in, or when like we call in an airstrike or artillery, do you know that it could possibly go through an air traffic controller?
I don't know because whenever we did it, as far as I know, because I mean, I never really got high enough to be privy to any kind of information. As far as I know, the 13 Foxes, the forward observers,
Yeah,
were the
Fiskars.
ones that just pretty much sent us the coordinates. Our TC put them in, and then boom goes the gun. So as
Okay.
far as where that information travels through before it gets to us, I don't know. I couldn't tell you.
No. I was curious because he said it could possibly go through there, and I was just curious if you ever had like firsthand witness to anything like that.
No,
I know, like
that,
when
that
we
would
would
be new
call in.
news to me. Like I said, as far as I know, 13 Foxes would send us coordinates, and boom goes the gun. We have an
Yeah,
old saying in field artillery: "Pull string, gun go boom." That's all I know.
I tell you one thing, what I observed, especially, I'll say in the first 10 years, I might not have had that realization. I got in '86, so that first part of my career, I didn't really understand. I had the big picture of what was happening at Eglin. Okay, and there was a lot of exercises, a lot of training that was going on in that neighborhood, and like I said, it encompassed a pretty big area, and whether it been cargo ops, fighter ops, helicopter ops, special operations. There were things going on, whether they're testing missiles, whether they're running this and they're running that. And I knew that they had a mission control. Okay. I knew they had a mission control. We're part of mission control. There's probably about, I don't know, even just there on the exercises, it might have been 20 agencies that were all involved with this, coordinating, doing all the math on everything, and design and everything. What we were doing, we were getting aircraft off the ground and recovering them back. Okay, in practice and training, and that's the same thing. What you'd obviously do in a forward location. I mentioned the combat controllers that we have. They special ops is usually at least one of them with most all special ops crews. We train them. They train in air traffic control. Okay, and they do a lot more push-ups, sit-ups, running around and stuff than I've ever thought of doing. They probably do that more than I thought of doing on a daily basis. But so they're a whole different breed, but they had to learn the air traffic control career field along with their training, whether it be swimming, whatever
So,
abilities they were able to do.
so I was boots on the ground. I mean, we were light patrols. Um, so my question is with you, Red, is when we would call in, let's say an A-10, would that go through air traffic control to get it to the point where we were at, or would that just go straight to them and they would come to us?
Okay, I would say that would, I don't want to get in mess with any opposite type stuff, but we would be responsible for aircraft probably entering that
Okay.
zone or exiting that zone, not while they were in it. And we might not have any idea of what their mission actually is.
But
You know, our
you kind
our
of control
job
where
was
they're going.
recover, getting aircraft airborne and recovering them.
Okay. Okay. Well, that's I mean, that's extremely interesting. Actually,
It's
how all the branches come together and help in different things that nobody really knows that happens.
Hey,
And
Grizz.
honestly, I didn't know until now that was part of it. I really didn't. I thought we would just call it in and they were there. I didn't know that it went through.
Hey, and it all happens, but it all happens, and I think it's caused the U.S. military. You know, we are a great country. We've got our stuff together in so many ways. We don't the country doesn't have their stuff together. But boy, when it comes to the military, when it comes to the ability of the military might, it comes together. From that, I'll tell you what, from that admin person, even from the people that have fed us in the chow halls, they're all part of the team. It doesn't matter. I've almost been out. This is ridiculous. I've almost been out as long as I was in. I've been retired 18 years. Oh, yeah. And I did do a civilian instructor job with the Air Force. Continued to teach students for about 8 years after I retired.
Okay, so let's
kind of got the transition right into the blue.
Let's put a hold on this. I gotta take a break, and we'll come back and we'll dive in a little more, and then I'm gonna dive in with Southern Vets on what he does and how he does it and how it helps him. So we'll be back in a minute and a half. So I don't know if you guys can kind of come up with what he does. Let's see it in the comments. What do you think he does?
Fun little fact, though. You know that part in the video where the smoke's rolling out of the oven?
Mm-hmm.
You know how I did that?
No.
How's that?
That's what you did to get
That's what I did.
He said, he put some smoke in the air.
That's exactly how I got that smoke to roll out. We had the oven was never, we did cook the stuff, but we waited till it cooled off. And we put a little red light inside the oven to kind of give it that effect while the smoke was rolling out and you could see it. But yeah, I just blew my vape in the oven and then let it roll out. When the tray pulled out, it kind of gave it that swirl to it.
Oh, that's too funny. So let's bring it up. What is this and how did it become part of your life and what was the driving force for you to want to do something like this?
So obviously it's candied pecans. I mean, if they didn't get that from the video, then I don't know.
I'm looking for the mystery box there, Southern Vet.
And it's pecans, not pecans, not pecans. None of that. It's pecans. I will die on that hill.
Pecans.
And I am from Georgia, the pecan capital of the world. The only time I say pecans is when I make reference to Family Guy and I make pecan sandies because of Roger. He liked pecan sandies. That's the only time I say it. But no, so I got out in 2004 and, I did heavy equipment operation for years. And, we spoke briefly. I told you about my accident. I had a tree stump fall on my skid steer. And, excuse me, sorry. I lost 2 inches of my left shin bone. So I had two surgeries. I had a bone graft. I had a rod put in my leg. So the first surgery, they put the rod in, they put the cement spacer in. Second surgery, they drilled into my femur, took that out, marrow out, did a bone graft. But anyway, so about a week after the first surgery, I started getting real depressed, and I just wanted the pain to go away. So I started taking my meds, and I ended up taking 72 Percocet 10s in 5 days. My liver should have been melted. So I'm a big Georgia Tech fan. Born and raised out here. How I got to be a Tech fan, beyond me. But me and my wife were at a game some years before, and she's like, "You remember those cinnamon pecans? We'd only seen them there one time." She's like, "You should make those." So I made those, and they were good. I started doing a couple of little farmers markets, and then I was like, "It's getting kind of boring, though." So I went to a veteran event at Dobbins Air Base here in Atlanta. And they had a guest speaker there, which I told you about earlier. I got to meet Staff Sergeant David Bellavia. He is the only living Medal of Honor recipient from the Iraq conflict, the only living one.
Yeah.
And I actually got to hold it. I'm trying to find it on the camera. I got to hold it in my hand.
Cool.
And it's super humble meeting him. It was just really awesome. But they had this bourbon pecan chicken dish there. And I'm like, bourbon pecans. I was like, so I looked it up. Other people were making them. And then I was like, well, I got to find something else. So I started getting into the realm of like salted caramel. I was like, well, how am I going to get that? So I started doing salted caramel whiskey. And I do rum flavors like cinnamon rum. And then people started telling me that this was the best thing they'd ever had. And that was my motivation. People saying that is the best thing they've ever had. They were telling me that when I was making stuff, they've had stuff from River Street Sweets in Savannah, Georgia, which is supposed to be like the king of candied pecans.
Okay.
And they were like, yeah, yours are better. And that was my motivation. It wasn't making money. It wasn't doing none of that. It was the satisfaction I got from people saying that is the best thing I've ever had.
So is this a full-time job for you now?
Of sorts. I am 100% from the VA, so that's my main source of income, which I'm very blessed to have because I would not be able to handle this business the way I do. So I don't rely on it to pay my bills. I'll put it that way.
Okay.
But it is full time because remember, I am a one-man business. I make, bake, pack, ship, label, do everything. And right now I am on the average of doing about 600 to 800 bags a week.
So your nuts touch a lot of people.
Yes. Celebrities.
I'm trying to get him to laugh. We had a deal going on. I'm trying to get him to laugh.
Hey, the old man's kind of quick here. I kind of like, yeah, I got that.
Oh, you can say, if you can make me laugh with one of those jokes, I will send you a free bag. But I told you, I laugh talking about not being able to laugh about it because it's just, I've heard them all. I've seen them all. It's just, but not long after that happened, we sold our house where we were, moved out to where we are now, which was like 15 minutes away from where we were. And I gave some to my neighbor, and she's like, hey, let me give some to my cousin. He might like some. And I'm thinking, he just wants to try some. I've made maybe 100 bags to my name at this point since I made my first batch. He calls me like 2 or 3 weeks later and said, hey, can I get 400 bags up here to Lake Lanier in Georgia? I'm like, 400 bags. I was like, you realize I've not even made 100 since my first batch. So I had no sense of, I had no sense of efficiency at that point. So it was a struggle to do 400 bags, even in like 2 weeks. Now I've got to where I can do 400 bags in a day. Wow. A lot more efficient, learning by trial and error. Anyway, I get up there and he was the caterer, craft service guy for the show Ozark.
Okay.
And so that was how I got my foot in with the movie industry. So about, people in the movie industry, they bounce around like car salesmen, like used car salesmen. Yeah. About 3 weeks later, I get a call from a guy and he's like, hey, my name's so-and-so with MCU Studios. Now, do you know who MCU Studios is?
Not offhand, no.
Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Okay. Oh, so, wow.
Within 3 weeks of me getting this massive order, This guy calls me and says, "Hey, can I get like 1,500 bags up here?" And I'm like, see, I was about to say at that time,
Yeah.
mother
Stop
trucker.
yourself.
I'm like, mother trucker, do you not realize how new I am? I couldn't tell him that. So I literally got thrown into the fire, and I made a lot of mistakes, a lot. But I ended up working with him for a while. And then when the strike happened last year, I kind of lost a lot of deals with Marvel because a lot of people left, went on to other things. I lost my contact with them. But I was doing, at the same time, I was doing Ozark, Loki, Hawkeye, Black Panther 2, Guardians of the Galaxy 3, Ghosted, P-Valley. I was doing like 7 shows at the same time, and I hadn't even been doing this for 6 months.
Wow.
And I was stressed out. I was ready to shut down at that point because I was just stressed out. I was like, "No, man, I got to make it happen." There was a lot of getting up at 5 in the morning and literally not going to bed till 2 or 3 in the morning just to keep these orders going and making them.
So
You
when
had
you
to
do
spread
those
them
for
nuts
like,
all over the place.
Yeah, I have. I'll tell you this, and I finally got my and I'll tell you, I learned this real quick because I like to backtrack a little bit in stories. I feel like it's relevant. I've learned real quick that hardly anybody that is a small business owner wants to help another small business. I had to learn how to do my licensing, because when you do food industry, it's a totally different world.
Yes,
As opposed to if you got a guy that
world
makes
up there.
T-shirts or stuff like that. Because when you're making food items, forget any information somebody else is trying to give you. It's pointless because when you
No
do food stuff,
camaraderie.
when you're doing food stuff, totally different realm. But nobody wanted to help me. I'm like, how do I do this? Where do I need to go to get this license? Where should I start with this? And everybody's like, well, you need to go here. It's like, well, that's the most generic answer. Of course, I got to go to the business licensing office. But how do I fill this out? How do I do this? And it was just a struggle. And finally, I got all that, and I figured it out. I did finally. It took me about 3 years because I ran off of a cottage license for a long time, which allows me to bake products in my home. It's just if I sell them,
Right.
I have to physically be the one being there selling it. I can't sell it through a third party, but I do have my retail establishment license now, which does allow me to sell via third party. So if I can get somebody from Alaska, Washington, Oregon, and Hawaii, and I think there's one other state. If I can get somebody that owns a store, not just a customer, but a store to resell it, I will have had my stuff in every state in the U.S. in a store at some point.
That's what I'm talking about.
So your nuts are in stores right now?
A lot of it's wholesale. A lot of my business comes from Tennessee. I get a lot of business down in Mississippi, believe it or not.
Oh yeah, I like it.
And I just got my first order for a store in Colorado. So that was kind of exciting. That was another one I was able to knock off the list.
Hey, I can probably get good point. My wife just put in there. I'm actually with my business. I'm in a store, an outdoor sportsman store down here. That I can talk to him, and let's just say maybe we'll figure it out. Maybe send me a bag and let him try, and I can put you in a store in Washington State.
And I do have I am on a wholesale site called Fair, which I like them. I get a lot of business off of there. But if it's a matter of somebody coming and is like, hey, can I order? I try to go directly because let's say if somebody orders 40 bags on the wholesale site, that's going to cost them about $220 with shipping and everything. I only see about 145 of that. So there is a bit of a profit loss, but just the quantity of business I get from them makes it worth it. But, somebody like that, trust me, if I could have people go directly to me, I'd much rather do that because I make more money that way.
And I can do that. I'm like real good friends with a guy that owns a store. It's like I said, a sportsman store down here, and I can go talk to him. He's going to want to try him to make sure because like my fishing jigs are in his store right now.
Absolutely.
But
I would,
I might be able to get you on the West Coast.
Because the way I'm on the West Coast. I'm in a couple stores out in California, which
Okay.
that's hard to say because it's a massive freaking state. So,
Yeah.
it's like people are like, oh, you don't realize that's, if somebody lives, let's say somebody lives in San Jose and I got something, it could be an 8-hour drive for them. It's like, so, but yeah, that would be awesome. I would be more than happy to send them a sample because I would rather send somebody a free sample and them try it and know it's good instead of buying something and then just being disappointed.
Oh, we'll be talking after this offline because I'd like to get your see your stuff up here. But we're gonna take a quick break, and then when we get back, you guys can see it right there. We're gonna be talking about it, and we'll be actually playing the video, and we'll be letting Southern Vet talk about what he did and what the purpose and what this is for. So we'll see you guys back in 3 minutes.
Attention, all troops. Are you ready to stay connected with the latest news, entertainment, and information tailored for our armed services? Look no further than MBR.
Here at MBR, we're more than just a radio station. We're a lifeline for those who serve from the front lines to the home front. We're here to keep you informed, entertained, and connected to your fellow veterans.
With our dedicated team of broadcasters, we bring exclusive interviews with military leaders, insights into the latest strategies and technologies, and uplifting stories of bravery and sacrifice.
But that's not all. MBR is a nonprofit organization, meaning that every dollar you donate goes directly towards supporting our troops and their families, whether it's providing care packages, funding, scholarships, or offering mental health resources. Your support makes a difference.
With that, H Train, can you tell me a little bit about how MBR got started?
Well, in 2005, Jim Butler created it so that he could keep contacts with all of his pals over in Iraq. And then when 2018 came, he decided that it was time for him to retire. He was going to close up the station. And because we've had so many former DJs since 2005, I mean, it's pretty inspiring. We have at least 5 veterans in every single state, at
That's
least.
awesome.
And, it just brings us closer together. It creates a family, and it creates a family that we lost when we got back from Iraq. And
Remind you that every show is manned by a veteran or a first responder. That's amazing. I love what MBR is doing here. I love being a DJ here as well. Talk to people who have been through situations similar to yours. You're not alone. That's what we do here on MBR.
yeah, and it's nice because if you're not having a radio day and you're just having a bad day,
Or do you don't have a face for radio? We just want to remind you that every show is manned by a veteran or a first responder. So if you've ever had a dog tag, you could be possibly on the show or create your own, as well as military dependents. Together, we'll stay strong, we stay informed, we stay connected. So visit our website and download our app today, MBR.
MBR, serving those who served while giving
Giving
veterans
veterans a
a voice.
Brandon Stokely here, and I want to encourage every single one of y'all to keep grinding, keep fighting, keep practicing, keep getting those reps in, because that's what's important, right? Keep building, laying down that foundation, and keep working at it, keep practicing. No matter what the results you see right now, it doesn't matter what's going on right now. Look towards the future, and that's what it's all about. So keep working hard, keep practicing, keep getting those reps, and that's what's most important right now. So keep up the good work. Best of luck.
All right, Southern Vet. So, explain what this is before I play this video.
Okay, so the machine, it's a 1946 Vindo 59. And to anybody that follows me on TikTok, especially my other page, they know I am super enthusiastic about Coke machines, the vending machines, or anything old, but especially those. But that one particular one is from 1946. It was the first vending machine made after World War II. because Vindo was actually contracted during World War II to make military equipment. Now, I don't know what equipment they were contracted to make, but whatever it was, it required a lot of steel because they weren't able to make the machines. So that particular machine, steel was still very kind of, I'm not going to say scarce, but it was hard to get. So a lot of it was made from recycled material. So there's a very good chance a lot of that machine was made from recycled military equipment. God knows what. So, but this one I got a while back, and it's the first one I restored. So it is one of a kind. You will see, if you Google, you'll see Vindo 59s, but you won't see any that are fully restored. The ones you see are going to be rust buckets. They're missing what we call the honeycomb. They're also missing, the compressor or just the guts in general. I have not found one that is fully restored yet.
I mean, it's beautiful. So we're gonna do this and just kind of walk us through what you got going on here.
So that right there is the cap opener. That was the hardest part to find. It took 2.5 years to find that part that I'm putting on right there. But this, right here, it's just super simple. You put a dime in, you pull it. It is completely mechanical. The only electronics with it is the wiring going to the compressor. That is it. Everything else is completely mechanical on it.
The wireless.
But she uses a good bit of energy. I'll see if I can pull some up here real quick, show you about what I mean by like a couple other pictures. Let's see. So,
I mean, you guys look at this. The thing, it's awesome. I mean, it brings you right back to the 50s.
But like that thing that the bottles are sitting in right there, that is the inside of that machine, and that is what we call the honeycomb, because it looks like a giant honeycomb.
Yeah, and the bottles just sit in it.
Yeah, the bottles sit in there, and what it is, like most of your machines have a evaporator. Like you have your compressor on the underside, you got your evaporator with a fan on it blowing cold air on the inside. Well, this one doesn't have that. It's basically a giant coil that comes up, goes around that metal bin inside of it. And so you can see right there, 70 degrees. And then we turn the compressor on and 33 degrees. Ice cold.
Okay. I think that's awesome. I mean,
yeah,
it's awesome. Beautiful. I've been hearing a lot about this. So I'm super stoked I got you on here to see this.
But yeah, that one, the coil goes up and around the inside of the bin that the bottles sit in, and then it goes back under, and it's just a giant coil. So all it's doing is it's just building up a giant layer of ice. So basically the coil gets cold, the metal honeycomb gets cold, and then the bottles get cold. So this one, ideally, this one ain't gonna hurt. It's not like a refrigerator. It's really not gonna hurt it if it stays cracked open all night. It's just literally building up ice is all it's doing.
So Red's got a question for you.
Well, man, I hate to break into when I'm hearing about this beautiful thing right here. This is neat. This is really neat. Talking about a collector's item. But I really, my question for the Southern Vet Suite, I know you've been doing this business that you're doing for a little while with the pecans.
Don't you say that.
I was really, I'm from Mississippi. I don't know. Pecan, you maybe find it out back. Why don't you just use a tree? But I just wanted to see if you could give me the funniest or funkiest or the fuggliest answer to what really makes your nut stand out according to the next guy from the other guy. I mean, I just kind of really curious how you,
because the flavor you see on my bag is the flavor you're going to taste.
Okay.
You get a lot of people, sometimes you'll go somewhere and they'll be like, oh, well, this is this, but really all you taste is sugar. You don't, like they had these candied pecans at Costco one time, and it was salted caramel. And I was like, all I taste is brown sugar. That's it. You know, I don't taste the caramel or anything like that. So I made it my mission that, you know, if I send it to somebody and it does not taste like what it says on there, I'll send you your money back on it. You know, that's my guarantee. Right. So like, for example, the peach lemonade that I make, I use a peach whiskey. I have a distillery up in Tennessee that sponsors me. You probably can't see it, but the lower shelf on back there is just nothing but bottles of flavored liquor from them. Okay. So like the salted caramel, I use salted caramel whiskey. The bourbon, I use bourbon. The cinnamon rum, I use rum. The Dirty Pirate, which is a good seller, that is a coconut coffee cream liqueur with rum and cinnamon. So I realized, I guess, I'm not going to say it's a secret, but I realized that one of my secrets was, when you use flavored whiskeys, that's like opening up a whole new realm of extracts for flavors. Right. So, but also I would go to like Buc-ee's or something like that and have theirs. And I was like, this just tastes like sugar. And I realized a lot of people use corn syrup. Right. That is a sweetener, but it's also, they use it as their binding material. So if you get a bourbon pecan that's made with corn syrup, it's going to taste extra sweet, and you're not really going to get the flavor of the bourbon because that sweetness of the corn syrup is just going to ruin it. So I had to find another good binding material. And I'd always like baking and doing stuff like that. And I was like, okay, well, egg whites. Let's try egg whites. So the egg whites were a great binding material that didn't add any additional flavor or sweetness. And that's how I was really able to make my flavors kind of stand out a little bit more. And every single order I make is nothing pulled off out of old stock. We're talking like, months or weeks before. If you order something, this is even for the wholesale orders. If they order it on a Monday, I might tell them, okay, I'm going to ship it the following Monday, but it's going to be made within 2 days before it ships to them. So it's going to be as fresh as they're going to get it. It's not like they're ordering it from a warehouse where it's been sitting on a shelf for 4 months and they're just trying to get rid of old stock.
Right. So do you only do pecans, or are you going to branch out into like almonds or any other sort of roasted?
Well, I will not do almonds, at least not for a long time, because that's a whole nother beast. I've tried it before, but then to really get it right, you have to brine them. So you have to kind of soak them in water, like boil them a little bit. Otherwise, they're just too hard. I don't like doing almonds. Okay. But I do make some other stuff, but I don't really sell it on the website. It's just stuff I do for like the movie people, something I don't have to ship, because I do a lot of chocolates and things like that. I'll do like chocolate coffee truffles, chocolate rum truffles. That's cool. I'll do, cookies, banana breads and stuff like that. But this is stuff that it's not really shelf stable like the pecans are. It's not something that because I don't use any artificial preservatives or flavors in my stuff. So it's the pecans, because of the way they're cooked with the sugar and the alcohol, those are both natural preservatives. But let's say like the chocolate, all that stuff, I couldn't sell it to somebody and them have it sit on the shelf for 3 weeks. It's not going to last. Right. And I refuse to add stuff to mine that's going to, just to make it last longer. I'm not changing the quality of how I make things.
Right. I love it.
I'm not going to do it.
You guys watching and listening, this 1946 Coke machine will be up for a raffle at the.
It's already up for raffle.
Or it's already up for raffle. And you can get raffle tickets at hopefor22aday.org. If you go on their webpage, they actually have the link to get the raffle tickets. I don't know the price of the raffle tickets.
If I'm not mistaken, it is $25 per ticket, or you can get 5 for $100.
That's what I thought, but I didn't want to say because I didn't know. But that's what I thought, because I had Hope for 22 on here when we were talking about it.
I mean, it's definitely a unique piece of history. Because like I said, you'll find a few out there if you Google it. And people are like, oh, well, it's only $600. Look at the pictures. It's a rust bucket. It don't have any guts. The honeycomb's missing. Right. That one, if you watch the video on Kashi's page, you can see where everything's plugged in, running, fully done, gets cold. You pull the handle, and it's fully restored.
And at that, I mean, it being fully restored, looking original like that, it's going to sell. It could sell for a lot more. So you guys, you can get the raffle tickets. I know it'll be raffled off either July 12th or the 13th because that's their the event that they got coming up. So let's get in there and get some raffle tickets. I mean, that thing's really cool.
And
But
I
on the
will say
flip
this
side,
for her, if it does sell, obviously whoever wins it, if they're not there, they're responsible for shipping it. But the best information I can give people, because we ship a lot of stuff, is Fastenal. Fastenal is nationwide. You can go to almost any Fastenal store and drop it off and pack it up, and they will ship it to almost any other Fastenal store in the country for like $250.
Okay.
Yep.
So that is the most efficient and cheapest way you're going to get that 250-pound machine shipped across the country if it needed to be.
So, Southern Vet and Red, I want to thank you guys. Red, I want to thank you. Definitely last minute jumping in here and helping me co-host. Southern Vet, thank you for taking your time out of your day to jump in here and show this wonderful machine that you've restored. It looks beautiful. On that note, do any of you guys want to plug your business? Now's your chance because we're about out of time.
Well, I will. Hey, I'll mention my travel business, which is what I'm doing after the military, Fairway Travels. I'm sure you can contact MBR or Joel can get, or H-Train can get in touch with me. But, either call 228-365-1012 or text. I'll answer either way.
SouthernVetSuites.com. I will say this real quick. The only thing that you're going to see on there is bourbon pecans in the mystery box, but the mystery box is worth it. It's $25.
That's the first thing I noticed was the mystery box.
$25. You're guaranteed to get $25 worth. Well, bags are $9 a bag, so you're automatically getting 3 bags. But, I'll say what that is, let's say the movie people order, 300 bags that week, and I have 40 bags left over. Instead of just letting them sit there and getting old, I'd rather sell them on a mystery box. You might get 5 or 6 bags. You might get more just, because I don't want to have to resell that stuff to people or have it sitting there going bad. So I'd rather, try to make a little money and then just, if it means shipping them 10 bags, right, just to get rid of my stock from that week. That's what the mystery box is.
Yeah, there's a good chance we might be ordering a mystery box tonight. I definitely got to talk to my wife first.
Yeah, you just don't know what flavors you're going to get. You might get one. You might get a flavor. I'm just like, I'm going to try a new flavor tonight.
That's it's awesome. On that note, y'all, I want to say look up LadyLibertyFoundation.org. We're a great foundation. We're in what we do is Vets for Vets and first responders, trying to help and reach out and help as many people as we can, whether it's homeless vets or just vets that are coming down on issues. I want to throw a huge shout out to MBR and H, because this has been such an experience for me and I don't want it to go anywhere. I have so much fun doing this, and they gave me the opportunity to put my voice out further than what it was just on my Spotify podcast. So thank you for that. And on that note, y'all, will see you next week. Same time, same place. We'll be here, and I'm not sure, honestly, who my guest is at this moment.
Same bad time, same bad channel.
Exactly.
That's what I'm talking about.
Y'all hang around for a little bit. We're going to end this live, and then we'll chit-chat a little more.
All right.
That's the show for today, everyone. Thanks for listening. We'll be back next week with an all-new show. And remember, you can listen to us again and again. The podcast of this radio show is available right after we go off the air tonight, anywhere that you can get your podcast episodes. And thanks for joining us today. I'd like to take a moment to talk about something close to my heart. Military broadcast radio is doing